y'all. Good morning. Welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, and disembodied hands, Quindy, disembodied beard, John, and an absentee puppy who's in the other room, lying there, wishing I would play with her ball. But, yay! Julie and Bob like green witches. Well then, that's good to know. Sorry I went opposite that on this model. This is my last stream for a while. Because tomorrow I have medical stuff, and then I've got a vacation. So yes. So I will be back on Monday the 30th, and I will stream on Halloween. And although I don't know if I'll have a costume, because I don't have much time after we get back to get one. And I will stream on Wednesday. And then I'm leaving again for the dog show. And then I'll be back on Monday. And then I'll be pretty much on through everything, through the holidays, through till February. So yes, I am abandoning you all briefly to go to tropical land where there are tasty pina coladas. Just saying. Because I'm leaving Kodiak, because this is the last stream for a while. That's why there is sadness. You like all witches. Well, good. That's good. Be very inclusive. It would have to be a very particular green, Crows. Because we do have the purple-orange, but green's going to be a hard sell. You could work it with everything except the icy violet. The icy violet is the thing that's going to clash with this green. You would have to... You'd have to, like, go with a yellow... Okay, I'm sorry, but whenever I think about it, I don't think it works, Gross. I think you have to abolish the icy violet if you go green. If you go muted olive, it's going to fight with... Because the problem with icy violet, the reason people find it so hard to use, is that it's kind of midway between a muted yet saturated color. It's actually quite punchy when you put it on a model, especially when you put it somewhere pretty up there. It would have to be but gray isn't the right answer. Like, it's, yeah. Muted olive would look ugly. You gotta go away in the other direction. I think you've got to go minty with your green, almost, to make it, like, it works with, the reason it's muted is that white is added to it, not that gray is added to it. So the green that it works best with is actually Dungeon Slime. So you'd have to go very pale and yellowy with it to have it work. It is all of the colors you think of as pastels, if it's a pretty intense pastel, which is what icy violet is, guys, and same thing with Dungeon Slime. All of those colors are considered muted because they are muted by white. But at the same time, they've got no black or complementary in to kind of dull them down. So that's why going gray or brown, like olive or gray-green, would not work with this. I don't know, you might be able to do a wash with Naga over the top for this, if you started with Dungeon Slime. You'd have to bring it way back up toward Dungeon Slime, though. And then you'd have to change the color of the tunic because it would be too light. Next to everything else that's light, you'd need to go dark with the bodice. You will get to a point where you will think about a color on a model and go, ew, like I do. Because I just imagine it, and I'm like, nope. I mean, I'm going to put a little bit of green here onto the pumpkin stem, but that's an accent color, Sybin, and that's not going to fight with anything. And I will use Naga Green and Dungeon Slime to do that pumpkin stem. Actually, I might use Cat's Eye. No, I'll use Naga. Naga's the safest choice. Safest choice. My gut essentially will tell me if it looks ugly, and then I will promptly use my brain to figure out why it looks ugly, Turgeon. That said, there are ways to make any of this stuff work. But when you ask me specifically about skin tone on a model that already has a color scheme in place, I can give you a pretty definitive answer. Could you work Icy Violet together with, like, Naga Green on a model and have it work? Sure. Somewhere out there's the model that does it. I see, like, especially European painters tend to push the gauntlet with color a lot. They're using a lot of different colors to highlight and shade. And they will absolutely sometimes put out something that's muted and weird that works. Yeah, yeah. And even then you have to be careful though, because as you learned, right, Age of Marvel, there's muted colors and there's saturated colors, and then there's weird colors in between. And when you're dealing with hypersaturated pastels, which still look bright even though they have white in them, like Icy Violet and Dungeon Slime, they tend to go with each other. So another way to say this is that if you really want to be safe with your muted colors, stick to a particular type of muted. This isn't necessarily always true, but like if you have a grayed out muted color, use grayed out muted colors on the rest of the model. If you have a browned out color, like an intense olive, use browned out colors on the rest of the model. We can see this here, except for the indigo, which is darker, so we get away with it. And it's also interrupted by black. But there is definitely brown in this red. Because the olive is pretty intense, right? So the indigo essentially ends up as an accent color, which I also used on the muzzle. The red is technically, I don't know. I mean, this is a triad. The yellow, green, red, orange, and blue, purple is absolutely a triad. But as far as the saturation level, this is a little bit pushing it. It helps that I muted it out by fading it, just like we're doing on Ed's model. But you see what I mean? It's a general, everything I give you is a general rule to keep you out of trouble. But can you push those rules and make them bend? Absolutely, especially if you're using enough neutrals. If you put them, yeah. Oh no, I'm sorry your laptop and you are throwing down, Cornico. But yeah, don't worry about it, Crows. Like, when you come down to it, Naga actually, it would work on the model, but not for a skin tone, and I definitely want to bring it up with this. The problem with skin tones is that they become a main color on the model, and I feel like green on this model is definitely an accent. And there's a big difference there, because you can get away with bright colors on a muted model if they're accent colors. That means you keep them small and punchy. And you can work it that way. Likewise, you can have a muted color on a very vibrant model if you work it the right way. So, like, we do that all the time, right? Like, if you have a skin tone on a model with really punchy colors, skin tones are technically muted. But there are skin tones that are more saturated, and there are desaturated skin tones. So that's where you come in. But because they're neutrals, you can get away with it. Same with her vest here, right? With her bodice. It's a neutral. We get away with it. Neutrals are your best friends, Big Chimpo. Neutrals absolve you from having to make color choices. I'm stunned that more beginning and intermediate level painters do not embrace neutrals wholeheartedly, because it means you don't have to choose any more colors. And they all claim to have trouble with choosing colors, so there you go. Just pick a brown. That was last time, Slayer. We did the kitty in the boots. Right. Well, that's why, I mean, you all are going to have seen, especially people on my Patreon who have read all my color stuff, when I write the section for this book, it's going to be very similar. I'm going to write it fresh from scratch, because I like to put a fresh take on everything when I write it. But, It's a lot of very simple stuff that's deceptively nuanced when you get really into it, right? So without further ado, let's actually do that green onto this model. Yes, and that's why I have a PDF on browns. 2 PDFs on browns, I think, Sir Gambit. On my Patreon. Patreon.com/paintingbig. And in that, I go into which browns are reddish, orangish, and yellowish, and kind of how to make that judgment call. And then I give you the neutrals that are pretty safe with everything in a different PDF. This is why my Patreon was made. Like, it was literally paint and color was the focus. I branched out into all the other stuff because you can only talk so much about paint and color before you repeat yourself. Yeah, many browns are not that neutral. So I'm going to put this green on there and see how it works. It's Naga green. It's a very saturated green. It has decent coverage. Oh, and actually, I don't know if I've got that in it, because the Color Workshop stuff, just search for Color Workshop and you'll get all the color PDFs. Sir Gambit, that's probably, it's, I keyword everything, so it's super easy to find stuff if you just search it. So Color Workshop and then search browns, and it's either going to be browns or painting brown. Unfortunately, I haven't been that consistent in that particular nomenclature, but I also get 2 points for using the word nomenclature in a casual sentence. But yes, you should be able to search anything. And I just made a collection. For those of you who didn't notice, you can also, I make collections on Patreon now. So I've made a collection of my color theory stuff. So that it is all gathered together in one collection. All of the best of the color theory that I've done, to choosing colors and all that stuff. I was thinking about this when I outlined the entire painting book last night, by the way, guys. It's 5 pages. Like traditional outline, with the little Roman numerals and everything. Traditional outline is 5 pages long. That's just the outline. But when I was thinking about it this morning, I think that's where a lot of today's, you have 2 things, right? In today's miniatures painting market. You have the book that gives you the bare basics, like the Games Workshop little pamphlet thing, and the Learn to Paint kits. You've got those books that just lay out very simply, techniques, execute on this, here you go. We have limited room, so we don't talk about all this other stuff we could talk about, right? And then you've got the art book, which is the FAQ books by Kirill and Arnaud, the Afonso book, you've got that. And then sometimes you have the high level actual execute painting book, like Angel Giraldez from Infinity, his painting books, which deal a lot with airbrushing, and specifically with Infinity's models. Okay, so Slayer, that's what we're trying to figure out right now. The question is, okay, is it going to be published physically? If it's more likely, what do you mean that way? Do you mean, can you walk into your local bookstore and pick one up? You can have your local bookstore probably will be able to have them order one, kind of like with my own books. But will we have just physical copies? Or I will not be an ebook unless I can figure out a way to do it. I may put out a different version in ebook. Yeah, order it like the Bear Kings books. Because the thing is, in order to get into bookstores, you have to be traditionally published, and we're not going to be able to traditionally publish this bugger, and we're not going to want to. I don't want a big publisher. I don't, even if I could get one. And with my level of expertise, there is a chance I could. But I'd probably have to go through a hobby publisher. And then it really isn't worth it, because then I'm like, okay, I'm going through a hobby publisher. They're going to want to change the book. They're not going to, they're going to want to, have a say in the book. They're going to want to take a bunch of money from the book, and they're not going to do that much for it. If that's the problem when you've got me. I'm like, you know what? I've done enough research now to know that what actual publishers do is very little. And if you're a hobby publisher, you don't have the ins with bookstores the only thing they could do to get a book into bookstores is the same thing I could do to get a book into a bookstore. Make it available on Ingram's and then try to advertise the heck out of it, successfully or unsuccessfully. Oh no, we're doing a Kickstarter. No. It has to be Kickstarted. The only way I feel, Kariniko, to get the word out about it and to get enough eyes on it is actually to Kickstart it. I understood very early when Reaper started doing their Kickstarters that Kickstarter is every bit as much about advertising as it is about producing. I wouldn't do this book without a Kickstarter. If we don't Kickstart it, it ain't happening. But yeah, my goal is to have it, and this is where I have to figure it out, because if I'm doing a print on demand that's not Amazon, then it gets interesting, because there are print on demand people that I've been looking at too, but one of them is annoying me, so I might say no. There are print-on-demand people who will distribute me to Amazon, but will they, like, do, you know, it's like, question mark, do they really make the book available? Like, does it go into the Ingram Spark catalog? Yeah. No idea. So, postage will be the same price as the book. Yeah, well, maybe not, Kuroniko, because the printer that I'm most inclined to use is actually in the UK. Which means that shipping for you would be super easy. If they're going to distribute it in UK Amazon, guess what? Poof. But what I need to learn from them is, are they going to be able to also put it on USA Amazon? Or are they only doing UK Amazon? It kind of looks like they only distribute to UK Amazon. But I don't know if they make it available on. I mean, technically, it should be just like when I put a book up. It should be available everywhere. But I'm not sure about that, because if it's not produced through Amazon, then you've suddenly it's a lot harder, because that means you're providing physical copies to Amazon. So I need to talk to people and figure out what's going on. So this is the problem with actually publishing my own books, is I know every step of the process, and I know the pain points, and I could see pain points looming, but I don't understand enough about how these companies work, so I need to learn that. I looked at, I investigated a company in the US, but I think I'm just going to ignore them, because they're not transparent about their pricing. I asked for a simple quote and gave them all the information that I gave the UK company, and all they wanted was to Zoom meeting with me. And then they're like, we can do this over email. And then they asked me a whole bunch of questions that I already answered in my first email. And if you aren't listening to me, and you have no transparency on pricing on your page, and all you want to do is, get a whole bunch of information that I've already told you I don't have yet, then I'm not working with you. Yeah, exactly, Kuroniko. See, that's the problem. That's the problem that could come in. Is that it could really be like that, in which case, yeah, shipping's going to be just as expensive as the book. I mean, I could also, and the problem is that I don't have faith in Amazon's quality of printing for a book like this. I'd have to look at it and see the options. There is a chance it could be produced by me through Amazon for all countries. But I just don't know the quality, right? That's the problem. Because if I could just do it, I could do it on Amazon, but would it have the quality I want? That's why I started looking at print on demand outside of Amazon. Because when you're doing a book like this that's going to be full color, I've never done a full color book through Amazon. I have no idea what quality of paper or of printing they come out with. I would almost need to just put it into a PDF, upload it, and order a proof copy. Right. I don't know, Kuroniko. But you know what? If your first thing is, hey, let's set up a Zoom meeting, and you don't even outline to me, oh, well, in order to give you that answer, we need this information, right? I react very badly to pressure sells, and this feels like a pressure sell to me. It also feels like hidden costs to me. And the reason that I was looking at the UK book producer in the first place for this book was because they had a super good reputation among indie authors as having no hidden costs and being upfront with you from the get-go, which apparently is a rarity in this business. Hey, Crowley. Bye. So yeah, I'm already pissed at the company in California, which is a shame, because I would have liked to use like a local print-on-demand company. Would probably have saved me money on shipping and thus allowed me to produce the book for less. But if they're going to be like this, you get a feeling early on, in my opinion, whether you really want to do business with somebody. And the way that they respond after you contact them is kind of Like, gives me a feel, gives me a vibe. I'm not liking the vibe from this US company. And I'm kind of split on whether to, like, kind of respond to them, try to work with them, say, you know, I'm not appreciating this vibe, blah, blah, and be upfront with them. Or if they're just going to get all offended at that, you know. I'm going to create a little bit of a shadow for parts of this pup, guys, I'm going to actually mix a tiny bit of walnut in it. But, I don't know, the UK company, their pricing is excellent. It's competitive. It's more than competitive. It's what I would expect to pay based on what I, you know, have looked at regarding, you know, knowing what I pay for what I produce right now in fiction. I do have an idea of printing costs and how much they are. So then I'm paying extra for a decent quality paper. And full color. That's a good question, Turgeon. For educational purposes, you're usually allowed to utilize things, at least, you know, if you give credit. Most of what I'm going to... I was thinking about that last night, and I may just talk in a lot of generalities, except for Reaper, because I can get permission from Christina and Reaper to use their products. Like, I think that's not going to be a problem. Just going to put a little smear of walnut, since my walnut is fighting me today. And put some Naga green in that to just... I need a shadow for the other side of the pumpkin stem. Oh yeah, GW never wants you to use their stuff. Everybody else understands that it's free advertising. You know, even if you offered to pay Games Workshop, like, they'd want millions of dollars or something, and you'd be like, no. Because, yeah, we actually did that back in the day, a long, long time ago. In the midst of time, when I was still painting at Sue Wachowski's gaming store. We did that. Sue and I had thought about putting out a gaming book, or a painting book, and we actually sent an email to GW. And, like, pretty much got a nope. Pretty much got a nope. I had forgotten that until you brought it up. Well, that's what I was going to do, Pendrake, actually. I was going to put out a small booklet that just was, like, the PDFs of the, it only covered stuff that the foundations of mini painting videos on YouTube have done. And then see kind of how it came out. It still doesn't give you an idea of how the binding is going to hold up and stuff like that. Like, how many role-playing game books have you guys run into that you ordered it and then it turned out the binding disintegrated within 3 months? Although, I suppose you could just go out and spiral bind this bugger. Some people will. Spiral bind and laminate it. Thank you, D. Clearman, with your incredible 54 months. Thank you for the resub. I appreciate it. We're talking about my mythical miniature painting book. But yeah, I had already arrived at that conclusion, Pendrake, that doing a test was going to be... if I looked at Amazon, doing a test was the way to go. If I'm going with Book Vault, which is the UK one, I have... essentially, there are enough glowing reviews from authors I trust on Book Vault that I'm not even going to question it. Like, that doesn't give me a question mark. All right, Korniko. Oh, absolutely, Agent Marvel. Well, for smaller companies, it tends to be a good thing. Like, I'll contact Christine and see if she's okay with me using her models in the book with credit. I'm even willing to pay a little bit. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, I don't want to pay more than a few $100 because what if we only make a few $100, you know? I think we're going to make more than that, but you just never know. You just don't know. So, and, you know, if Christine doesn't want me to use her figures, then I'll have to use Reaper. But, I mean, this is going to be a very Reaper-centric, obviously. Look at my client. Look at the people who, like, are attracted to what I do. It's going to be a very Reaper-centric book anyway because of MSP and because of, you know, I am going to use a lot of Reaper miniatures because I'm concentrating on character models, and Reaper does great character models. If I was doing a monsters book, then it's on. The other thing is, though, about that whole using Games Workshop models, you can, there's like a legal thing where, and you'll notice because Colorful Kraken obviously used Games Workshop models in their book. I don't know if they got permission or if they didn't or what, but essentially, if you are showing off the paint job and not the model, there's a loophole there. You print in whole bunch, every single Painting Geek PDF. Oh my god. I have to be taking up binders at this point. So like, for example, I can paint GW models and put those painted images up on my website to advertise my commission services or whatever, or my Patreon. And I'm fine. Those things do make me money, but I'm showing off the paint job, not the model. Whereas if I am, and so it depends, right? And you don't want to really get in a kick fight with GW. I wouldn't want to use their models anyway, though, because their models are for their game. They're not D&D role-playing game character models. Yeah, Kodiak has it. Who wants to pay for a lawyer against GW? Nobody. Oh, I was already there, Turgeon. You guys have to realize, this is not my first rodeo. I worked for Reaper forever, and I've published my own books. I mean, I appreciate it, because I might not have thought of some of this stuff, but as it turns out, yeah, already thought of it. Already there. I wouldn't be considering a project this big. Like, this is why I'm annoyed at this publishing company in California. They're like, well, do you have a link to your Kickstarter page? And it's like, dudes, you don't understand. I need to know if this is even feasible. To know if it's feasible, I need to know roughly the amount you're going to charge me per book with these specs and this rough number of copies minimum, right? It's not hard. But this is exactly why you don't even start the project without asking all these questions. You've got to figure it out. That's why I haven't put a single, other than the outline, I haven't put a single lick of writing into the book yet. But, you know, I can start after I, like, talk to Reaper and talk to Christine. And make sure that they're okay with it. And maybe they're not okay with me doing it if it's self-published. Maybe Reaper only wants to do it if Reaper's publishing it. I don't know. Maybe not, though, because they've got enough on their plates, and me taking over the publishing is probably okay with them. But who knows? I won't know till I ask. I'll probably send an email while I'm in Hawaii. Yes, kickstarting it. And I don't know if Reaper wants to help me with that Kickstarter, or if they're open to helping me with that Kickstarter, or if I'm on my own. I have no idea. These are the questions I still need to ask. This is, again, why I have not started with this. I have not started writing this actual book. There are so much. This is what kept me from doing this in the first place, guys, is all that crap you need to have in a row before you even start. Writing is the easy part. Yeah, well, crows, yeah. There's always been issues with Design Your Own Mini. From the people who won it, but then took forever to get us a design, or to choose what it was, and then it was, you know, like, when they did choose a design, a lot of times it's very niche stuff that would never otherwise be produced. So we put out the model, and then it just dies, right? And then we have to cancel it, which is really annoying, especially for the person who, like, you know, won the prize, right? There are problems with the whole Design Your Own Mini competition. And these days, honestly, pay a sculptor, get it done. There are some decent sculptors out there digitally who will design your model for you. Not to mention, what's the place, Hero Forge, where you can at least design a decent model if you really need something niche. Fun, Zachariah. So, as you can see, the green on the pumpkin does not clash. Part of why the pumpkin works here. Okay, so that green, if it was right up next to here, would have some problems. But it's next to the orange of the pumpkin, and green and orange actually like each other. And it's got that neutral bluish black, gray kitty behind it, right? So it's actually working pretty well. So as long as you've got a cream or some other neutrally color or a dark shadow between the green and the thing that is going to fight with, and on this model, the thing it's going to fight with is Icy Violet. But it loves this orange so much that it's just ignoring the Icy Violet. So that's why I say every rule has an exception in color theory, and it depends a lot on composition and on the area that the colors are taking up. Oh, I'm sure. It's just that I'm a planner at heart. I'm a planner, and I'm also all my strengths are best seeking. And best seeking strengths mean that I am always looking for not just a way to do it, but the best way to do it. And I'm not happy until I feel like I have that way or something close to it as I'm going to get. So for me, figuring out the logistics beforehand is part of strategizing, and strategizing is what I do. It's like the core of Anne. So yeah, a lot of people would just charge forward. There's a lot, just like there are people who charge into a miniature and just bull ahead without thinking about a color scheme. There are people who have a project that lights up in their head and they just bull ahead without really thinking about logistics or like the things that could get in their way. And when they come to those things, they deal with them then. That would drive me nuts. I couldn't do it. I would just give up. I'd throw my hands in the air and say, done. Ah, you're an iterator. You're an iterator, Zachariah. Yeah, okay. See, and I'm the one who I'll iterate in my head before I even do it. And then if something hits me, I'll iterate and find the best way around it. But in the moment. But yeah. Right, exactly, Rebel. Well, it's not going to be a very big goal. We want to fund it. We want the book out there. That's how you are, Simon? Yeah. Yeah, and there are people who do well like that. Like, it's just their process. There's nothing good, bad, or ugly about anybody's process. It's just the way you are. It's the way that your brain executes on a goal. All right. So anyway, that's why the green works here. It's very small. We're keeping it focused. It's an accent. We're keeping it kind of toned down. If I really want it to disappear, although it is pretty small, I'd put a glaze of that walnut and naga over the top, which would dim it down even more. And I might do that because it is pretty bright next to that. So the color that I mixed there is an olive green. But because it's only being used as a shader, it's not really the main green. So if I take a little bit of this into a separate well, and then I drop a bit of water in it to make it colored water, and maybe a little bit more paint there. So you want to be able to kind of see it when you paint it over the surface. You can always put more on. If you're very confident with glazes, you could go for a heavy glaze off the bat. It's up to you. But we could paint that olive over the top of this dark green. It wouldn't change it all that much, because after all, it is mostly olive green itself. But it will darken it a little. It'll dull it down a little. It'll make it essentially drop to the background a little bit. So that works. But yeah, I have a pretty good like strategy in my mind how I want to do it. Also, remember I bounce things off of David, who has a different brain than me, and he's a great bouncer offer because he spots stuff right away. Like he asked me right away if I was going to do miniatures with it, and my answer is no. The only way I can see doing minis with it is if Reaper ran the Kickstarter. Like if it became a Reaper Kickstarter, then we could look at actual physical logistics fulfillment. Other than book. Otherwise, if I'm doing it all by my lonesome, I probably am going to just say nope. I'll give you guys all the item numbers. You can go buy them yourself. Yeah. Even if I did, it wouldn't actually be any new miniatures for Nico. It would just be putting together a set of the models that I use in the book. Like, I could talk to Christine and say, hey, do you want to do a little set of these when the book comes out? And I used your models XYZ, right? But I don't know that, I don't know how many models I'm going to use. Probably not many, because my kind of goal in this, guys, is almost like here. I want to paint a lot of each model on different lessons. Well, you can still pick the ones you want, Kodiak. You always have that option. But if you wanted to actually try the tutorials that I'm doing on the model I'm using, some people have no problem taking what they learn from a thing and applying it to a random model. Other people really want to execute on the model so they can compare to the example before they do that. More hair folk. Actually, I have some favorites of Christine's that aren't. I really like her elves and some of the other models she's got. So I don't know. I'll be looking for specifics. I've already picked one elf to use for sure, assuming I can get her permission, which I, again, will set up. We'll contact her over the weekend. But yeah, I want all my ducks in a row. Row ducks. Oh, and we haven't even painted the back of this Icy Violet. Dear me. And we haven't highlighted our stuff. So, all right, let's do some white. Let's set up some white and some broom. And one of my colors for that was leather brown, and the other one was cloudy gray. Not stone gray, not rainy gray. Jeez Louise. There. But yeah, right now that's just, all this stuff has to be figured out. Once I have the, yes, you can do this, yes, we can do this, rock it, go for it. But yeah, unlike with my Patreon, I will probably, and take your allergy pill, Quindy. Mine are just killing me today. But yeah, one thing you will not find in this book is a rundown of different paint lines. Because, again, do I have the right to talk about these people's paint lines? And especially, do I have the right to, if I'm not giving them a glowing review, you don't even want to go there. So expect me to... Yeah, they have been bad this fall, yeah. Yep, agree. All right, so we're using these two colors. We mixed these two colors to make this off color here a muted cream, and then we highlighted it by adding white to it. We can use this color for the broom, obviously, so we can just repeat colors. We're just not going to do the mix for the broom. We're just going to paint the broom with the leather brown and then highlight it. So we'll rock that. Yeah, right. You just don't even want to go there. There's no reason to go there. And especially with the way I teach, which is all about, try a whole bunch of different lines and see which one works for you. Like, that's me, right? So why on earth would I want to run down all those paint lines? If you want that info, you can go to my Patreon, and I can say that in the book. No, I wouldn't, Pendrake. I mean, there are plenty... every paint from every other line is potentially useful. So that doesn't really work. I could mention that such and such a company produces a product that might do X, Y, Z well, but I'm much more about actual technique in this book. I'm not about product. I'm covering product on a very, two-layer level. Like, what is this? What does it do? Right? And how do you use it? For a flow improver, I'm not going to give you flow improver brands. I'm going to say, here's flow improver, and this is what it does to your paint, and this is how you use it. Ta-da! Use any flow improver you like. Some brands may require thinning. And that's enough information for you. That is enough information for you to understand why you would use flow improver and how to use it. No guarantees on that, Agent Marvel. Probably, but maybe not. If I have Reaper's permission to give specific colors and do all that kind of thing, yeah, the question is how limited am I in that? And for that, I'll have to do some research into copyright law. Can I mention an opposing company in my book without their permission? Things like that. That's easy enough to find out. So whether I mention other companies' products depends on if I can legally do so, in other words. I'm not going to run around like getting permission from everybody to talk about their paint, because again, I have caveats about a lot of paint lines and they're not going to be happy with that. So it's probably better to use MSP where I know the beast inside out, backward, and forward, plus figure it, MSP is my strong point, right? I made the dang thing. I know how it works, why it doesn't work, you know, how you break it, what happens if it breaks. I know all that. Cornico. Yeah, I mean, we're not aiming... The thing to understand, this isn't a product advertisement. This book is about technique. It's the fundamentals of miniature painting. It's going to be called, probably, the fundamentals of miniature painting, because that's what the YouTube series is. Its main point is to set you up for success in the hobby, whatever you want to use. Like, whatever brand you want to use. This will set you up, and it will hopefully prevent hobby frustration so that you stay in the hobby. Those are the goals of this book. It is not a walking advertisement, although it will end up being kind of one for Reaper, because, again, if I'm using Reaper paint and I'm using half of the models are Reaper, there you go. Which, honestly, will be refreshing, because if you guys think about it, except for the Learn to Paint kits, but you look at all the European mini painting books, none of them have Reaper. It's like we don't exist. So I am launching this into the world because there needs to be equal representation, dang it. And if they're not going to use my paint because they're sponsored by AK, or they're not going to use our miniatures, it's time to level the field. You guys get my vibe there? Are you with my vibe? Because it's true. Hi, Keeks! Am I excited and you came in to see what was going on? It's not even close to time yet. It's not even close to time, Princess Kiki. It's not. No, it's time for dozy puppies to lie in front of the fan. Right. I mean, you just don't go there. That's an intermediate painter thing. And this book does have a lot for intermediate painters, but it's always like... And the other thing is, it's always subjective. My opinion on a paint line is not valid for a lot of people. And once you know that, you really have to go with this. Here are some tests to do. You know, if you like this technique, just see if this paint can do it. If it does it great and you love it, use it. It's just don't overthink it. Not really, Sir Gambit, because I find there are really only 3. Oh, what? Oh, Kiki threw her ball into the closet. She can't get it. Here, Papa. There's your ball. Good girl. Good girl for telling me you needed me. That was funny. That was Kiki's, hey, Mom. Hey, Mom. Yeah, so essentially there's Reaper. And I kind of, with Reaper, I would kind of now also put Pro Acryl. So there's Reaper Pro Acryl a little bit. Then there's almost every other paint line, which uses a heavier, thicker base. And then there's tube paint. And you could actually make a 4th category for Games Workshop, an Army Painter, because they're essentially handing you the fish, right? They're giving you a base coat, they're giving you wash, they're giving you all the components ready-made, right? So, okay, so let's say 4 types of paint lines. And I could break that down. Absolutely. In fact, that's a great thing to break down. Because there are paint lines that are totally in for coverage, and paint lines that aren't. The ones that aren't are Reaper, ... and some Pro Acryl and Chimera. But most miniatures paints out there on the market, like Vallejo, and traditional scale color, those are heavy-bodied paints that are meant to cover. Like, that is what their goal is. And because their goal is that, they are harder to use in other applications. Then you have tube paint, which obviously is its own beast, and then you have companies who are doing very specific viscosities for very specific techniques so that you don't have to think. So, types of paint lines. I'll write that down. I can add another little outline blip. I would say Chimera color is actually more with MSP, now that I think about it. Although they do choose for coverage, they also choose for light fastness and just awesome color. Like, if they're more Reaper's paints are meant to be more like the Chimera, where they're choosing, if it's a transparent color, it's because the pigment is transparent. And that's the way it is. GW and tube. And really, those are it. And AK has a lot of solvents, but yeah, AK is also a different like, I would say solvent paint lines, or AK is like scenic effects or special effects. Some of them are acrylic based, some are other. But I've never like used AK. It's getting some popularity for some stuff, but I still feel like their raison d'etre is solvents, and I'm not even going to cover solvents in this look. This book is about non-toxic. I'm not even going to go there, crows. I would prefer. Okay, I'm gonna be real honest with you guys. I would prefer to do it myself. I would prefer. And the reason, I don't know. My reasons are weird. No, I guess they're not really weird. One, I love creative control. I have learned that from self-publishing. We're going to use our leather brown and black in this room, by the way, while we talk. I really like to control the cover and the elements of the process. And the editing and all the everything. I like to control like how the distribution is, the quality of the print. I like to make those decisions. And part of me also wants to see just what I can do with it. Would I ask Reaper if I could promote it on their social media? Absolutely, because it's going to have a crap ton of Reaper in it. But also, partnering with Reaper probably means I have to charge more per book. Because if I'm going to pay myself and pay Reaper for doing all the logistics, then I need to factor that into the cost of the book, right? So it's not an easy, call. Because on the other thing, oh, AK book controversy, you get all the details you need. Oh, hello, Broski. Yeah. Miniatures are popular because I feel like it's a creative outlet that's pretty accessible, because it's kind of like a 3D coloring book, Broski. So, like, if you've always wanted to kind of be creative and learn to paint, but a blank canvas gives you the heebie-jeebies because you don't draw, and, maybe your horses look like footballs or collections of sticks. Mini painting it takes off some of that pressure, because everything is already sculpted for you. All you have to do is color it. And there's a lot of, as you've seen on Twitch and on YouTube also, and in books, which we were just talking about, because I want to write a miniature painting book, there's a lot of resources for you to learn, no matter how you learn best. So. Right, exactly, Turgeon, and they're missing the point there. That's the whole point. They're coming from outside of MSP, and they're used to throwing a ton of water into their paint. And MSP was created so you don't have to do that. And that's fair. That's if they wanna, if it's because they are used to a process and MSP does not work through the process, that is an absolutely fair assessment. And they can rock with that. I mean, that's all right. Oh, it's super easy to start out though, Broski. Don't. If you ever get the urge to try it, you could always pick up a Reaper Learn to Paint kit. It breaks it down super easy, and Rhonda's instructions are really really simple, and they're great photo examples of what it should look like. So yeah, if you ever do Reaper Miniatures Learn to Paint kit, number 1. Number 2 is the more, like, once you know number 1 techniques, you can go on to number 2. But yeah, if you ever do, it's not as hard as it looks. Yeah, it's really, really relaxing. It's even more relaxing when you do it. Yeah, exactly, Kodiak. And that's because those other paints are going for a higher viscosity so that they can cover. So it's not just the pigments, but it's the viscosity of the paint, the fact that it's thicker that gives you that coverage. It's more goopy. It uses a resin with a higher particle size. And because of that, you have to fight that to take it down when you need to use it for, say, things like layering or glazing or whatever. You have to, add a lot more water to get it to that level, whereas MSP, real simple. Not with putty necessarily, Broski, but I do a lot of freehand. That flame is just painted on. That's what we call freehand, and it isn't for every miniature. I actually haven't done. Oh yeah, I actually did do both putty and paint on this one. So I wanted to do autumn leaves, and the ones at the top are all painted on, and the ones at the bottom have been sculpted on. But understand I've been doing this for like 30 years, Bresky. So on occasion I go above and beyond. Just because I'm like, I've never done this before. Let's try it. I'm trying to keep the witch pretty simple though. Yes, it's an odd hobby. You spend ages copying other people's stuff, and then one day you realize you have a style. Yep. Yeah, I have a lot of experience. Yeah, I know. Well, if you just enjoy watching it, then welcome to the community, Broski. You absolutely can do that. You do not have to pick up a paintbrush yourself. I am on I'm about to take a week and a half vacation, 2 weeks vacation pretty much. But normally, and around, I resume, what day do I resume? So I'm about to go to my delayed honeymoon, Broski, but let's see. I will be back I normally do every weekday at this time. And my day I return, I'll be back like the 30th and Halloween and the 1st, but then I leave again. I really resume streaming full time on November 6th. So, and then if you want to, you can watch me every day around this time. Thanks for the Prime sub. Yeah, and if you have any questions, like, you just have to ask. I'm all about elaborating. I've been in the hobby long enough to know why most things work or don't work the way they do. So I'm happy to share that. Today is last day. I have medical stuff tomorrow. I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow. So Kiki is going to come in and very loudly chew her bone. So if you hear weird noises in the background, it's my puppy chewing her bone extremely loudly. Like a little kid, like, chewing gum super loud to annoy you. That's Kiki. Yeah, today is the last day. Like I said, I'll be back the 30th, 31st, and the 1st, but then I have another trip that I have to go on. Wherein I hand off the reins to the board of my nonprofit, and I no longer have to do that, which is so happy. And there is a little bit more broom down here that I want to get. I actually give her, normally it's bully sticks. She has a bully stick in the morning, but I also have a couple of Nyla bones just sitting around the house from my old dog. And she would much prefer a bully stick or a no-hide. I like those new no-hides. They're not rawhide, but they're digestible. They're more digestible, I should say. So and then I also give her, there's a toy called a topple that's kind of like a rubber cup with rubber bits in the middle to keep them from eating too fast, and I have frozen pumpkin with a little bit of canned food in those for her. So she gets all sorts of tasty treats, but I think she's got a Nyla bone. Because it's just sounded like it. She's gotten disgusted with us, and then she left. Yeah, I say puppy. Kiki is actually 75 pounds and almost 16 months old. Yep. Thanks, Simon. We'll see you when I get back. I'm looking forward to it so much. I'm so excited. So excited. Yeah, she's a doggo with a puppy brain in charge. Pendrake is absolutely correct. That is 100% Kiki. But yeah, I like more natural chews. I was giving meaty bones, but the problem with giving her actual like marrow bones is that they make her poop soft because they're really rich. The marrow is really rich. So after the first couple blowouts, we decided those were out. Um, yeah, but yeah, so I like the no. She gets a no hide in the evening and a bully stick in the morning, and her topple when I have lunch. So she gets a little lunch too. She's spoiled. She's tremendously spoiled. I like having only one dog. I used to have four. With four dogs, I feel like you're trying hard to just give them each one of them a little spoiling, but with one dog, I feel like I can spoil her to the moon. Oh yeah, I also have my own Twitch channel, which I normally do on Saturdays, and I paint not Reaper stuff there, and usually bigger stuff. Not always, but on my own channel, we've been painting this owlbear. I got this at ReaperCon, but it's from a different company. It's a very stylized owlbear. So we've been doing it kind of with peacock colored feathers, and then I was going to start on the fur next time. And that's from Adventure Cats, Kana Minis. And then I also do my own stuff, and that tends to be, these days, a lot of big. Like, lately it's been Crystal Dragon. Crystal Dragon has come along. Ah, Crystal Dragon. But yeah, so I do a lot of stuff. On my Twitch channel on Saturdays, I'm also going to be painting this big pug mini, the pugling from Jason Weeby. Because he gave her, I think it's a her, to me at ReaperCon. So I'm going to be doing that. Alright, I'm going to get some brown and shade this. I want to use some Harvest Brown mixed in my leather. Yeah, and I have a YouTube with Fundamentals of Miniature Painting series on it right now. Bosky. Kiki, no barks. I wonder if she put her ball under the couch. If she keeps barking, I'll go check it out. So I'm going to make a mix of this russet brown, which is a very rich, dark brown. Good for shading orangey and yellowy browns. Oh, Kiki's still woofing. Let me go and check out if she's lost her toy. One second. Hey, big dog, come in here. Kiki. I'll come and see, but first I want the world to see what a monster you are. Oh, this is my puppy. Ugh. This is my puppy, everybody. Giant Princess Kiki. Ugh. Yes. So when I say puppy, it's a very large puppy. Okay, what are you barking at? What are you barking at? What are you woofing at, huh? Is it just a lot of to-do about nothing? Is it? You big chonk, you? Yeah, good girl. Okay. If you put something under the couch, just woof for me again, okay? I'll come and get it. All right? Yeah, it's not time for our WALK yet, so you got to go and settle down, okay? I love you. Yes, I do. Good girl. Work. It's work time. Nope. Work. Yeah, she's my Cerberus. She almost got named Cerberus, Siri for short. And David still blames me for not doing it. Because on the ride home, I'm like, she's not a Cerberus. Yeah, well, I was maybe wrong. Maybe, just a little. Yeah, there are also other artists on this channel. Rhonda is great. We haven't seen Michael Proctor for a while. And Reaper does its own stream on Thursdays. Every other Thursday. Reaper Live. Wherein they give away a great amount of free stuff. I'm going to shade the underside of this with the brown, and then I'm going to use it to define some of the airy clumps of straw here. And this is the off week, I see. But yeah, I'm a pretty chill streamer, Broski, so some streamers obviously are less chill. Luca comes to mind. Wednesdays. Beware Wednesdays. Oh no! Cat fight. Well, I mean, Loki is aptly named, really. So I'm just getting that brown in, and I'm going to mix a little bit of the leather in to blend it. Yeah, Zachariah has demonstrated Luca's level of chill, quote unquote, or his level of unchill, I should say. He is unlearning how to chill. So since the broom is going kind of underneath the cape here, we're going to shade it a little bit more with that brown. Make it a little darker. And I've thinned the brown down so that I can do more subtle shading, so it's not just a blob of paint. Kiki, Keeks, exile. It's enough. Now she's just fussing because she wants to go on her WALK. But it's not time yet. So I'm going to shade also here because it's underneath the shadow there. Good girl. She settles down and she like, such a funny dog. All right, so we've got that shadow there because this is under that edge of the cape, so it's going to be darker. Yes, Luca is an amazing painter. He's a good teacher. He is entertaining. He's just a lot. He's like the opposite of like I think probably the chillest person on the internet who does models is CNOT. Like, his music is and his streams are always so super chill. Yes, so CNOT does big custom sculptures. So he'll use oven bake clays, and he'll do these just gigantic, awesome monsters and characters. He's just really good. He's good enough to have been sponsored by the company who makes the putty he uses. Oh my gosh. Luca. Glad I missed that. Really, I just have to remind myself that Luca deserves what he gets. When he gets crazy. But yeah, CNOT is super chill. Always has the best music. So he's more chill than me. Oh, it was melting it shut as he did it, Kerniko? Awesome! You know, if Luca did cut off his entire hand, he'd just, like, weld a cyber hand on. Or he'd have a hook. Yeah, Luca is a lot. He's a hoot, but he's a lot. So yeah, but here's, there's somebody, everybody's got a different Twitch style. I just tend to be a pretty chill person these days, so I'm chill to watch. The only time I'm not chill to watch is if I've gotten irate about something. Hey, nope, you want to get exiled, huh? She's sitting there looking at me going, Yeah, you gotta settle, Bubs. It's not time yet. So I call her Papa, and Papa turned to Bubba, but now it's turned to Beelzebubba. I actually do call her Beelzebubba sometimes. I do. I know, she's whined at me. Settle down, Kiki. You know it's not time yet. Yeah, exactly. Replace your hand with a mini holder. Kiki. Yeah, settle down. She's like, I was only a little scratching the floor. That's my dogs, though. All my animals I've ever owned, and I got it from my parents. You can blame this on my parents, along with many other things. But our animals, our pets growing up, always had the longest. Like, we just accumulated names. Like, their original name, by the end of their life, their original name had completely disappeared, along with 3 other names, and you instead had six different new names. Although Kiki is still Kiki. And we do call her Cerberus on occasion. Yes, cannot tell time, exactly. But yeah, so all of our dogs and cats that we owned over the years, my family when I was a kid, they all had a bunch of names. So I just got in the habit. They just grow. They grow a bunch of names. And the name you used for them when they were a puppy may not apply anymore as they get older. So there we go. So what I'm doing here is I'm highlighting the edge of this because under the tie, the broom's going to poof, right? It's going to poof out. So it's going to catch the light. And then these bottom ones are also splaying out, so they're going to be catching the light. So I'm doing a brush stroke that's vertical. A lot of the individual strands are hard to hit because it's very finely sculpted, so just generalize and you'll be fine. If I was doing this for competition, I would absolutely try to hit every single strand, no matter how fine they were, and be really precise about it. But we're not doing that to this level, so... Which one is Snuggles again? Right, Carrie Michael. I haven't checked Discord, so if you sent me a message, I have not seen it. I've been totally wrapped up in trying to get the house ready for our trip and trying to get everything. Like last night, I spent a ton of time writing down stuff for the dog sitter. I've got a novel about how all my house's foibles and all my dog's foibles, and I'm still expecting him to text. So we'll make that tie a different color, but I haven't decided what color yet. Maybe orange. I could go with the green, but that would be putting it really close to the icy violet, and as discussed, it's not a happy thing necessarily. But it does have a little bit of space between it, so I might, and a neutral's right next to it, so I might be able to get away with it. Oh, no rush. Okay. Yeah, I'm about to leave for Hawaii on the delayed honeymoon, so we'll see. But I will get to it, I promise. There's a lot of people I have to talk to about, just to make sure I can use stuff for the book before I start the book. We were talking about it earlier. I like to have all my things in a row so I know what I can use. And I probably will talk to you as this goes around and say, kind of like, hey, do you have a good example of X, for example? Stuff like that. Do you have a good example of a figure painted with red hair? Blah, blah, blah. Whatever. It would be cool. I just want to feature like a few different artists that specialize in like this scale of miniature, who I know who are cool. That's all it is. Yeah, we had to delay it because Kiki was a tiny puppy last year at the time we got married, so we couldn't leave her at 8 weeks with anybody. So we delayed it a year. And I can't wait. I love Honolulu, and I can't wait to be back there eating all the tasty foods. And listening to the ocean. All right, so we're good. So as you can see, it doesn't take a whole lot to do something simple like a broom to a decent standard. I'm going to highlight the top a little bit. Little Miss Princess Tippy Toes. Boop, boop. There. Cool. Super duper. I'll be in touch then. My outline is epic, so it'll be a lot of work. A lot of work. Where's my orange brown? I stuffed it over here. I did not stuff it there. It is not the Phoenix red. It is not the oxide red. It's not the harvest brown, but it's very close to the harvest brown. There we go. Yeah, Ron is my next email target, but I need to get the house all, like, so I need things sorted for the trip before I can work on anything else. And it may just be me sending emails in the airport, because then I'll have time. That's why I love airports. Nobody can expect me to do anything, like, actually useful, and so I tend to get useful things done. Pardon me, I'm putting some of the paint back into my tube. You guys have done that, right? When you squeeze out too much paint, you just squeeze the air out of your bottle, and then you stick it into the paint, and you slurp it up. It has limited use, but I did manage to get about half the paint back into the bottle when it busted through and decided to splork too much out. Splork being a technical term. Alrighty. Well, now you do Kodiak. You don't have to. It's just I don't like to, like, waste 4 drops of paint I can reclaim. Let's see, where's my yellow? I want to highlight my pumpkin a little bit more. I'm going to thin down that a little bit. There. So I'm going to use a little bit of lemon yellow probably with this orange brown just to get it a little bit lighter. But first I think I neglected to fully highlight this pumpkin with an straight up orange brown, so. Yep. Yeah, with tube paint. That's probably where I get it from, Carrie Michael. Honestly. From using tube paint back when I was a kid. So since our beginning color was that harvest brown, the more layers of this orange brown we put over the top, the more we'll be eclipsing that harvest brown and really getting it to the shadows. And I didn't do the sides really at all, so. Using a vertical stroke here. Brushstroke doesn't so much matter, but pumpkins are pretty smooth. So if I do a stroke up and down and I do see brush strokes, I'll just make my next set of strokes be horizontal. Cross-hatching, essentially. And I'll essentially cross-hatch the part that I want to be stronger orange. So toward the middle. That makes my orange pumpkin a little bit brighter, and then I'm going to do a final highlight by adding in some lemon yellow, which has both yellow and white. I think Quindy, when I come back, I'm debating, because she doesn't need that much more, but I'm kind of debating just finishing this model up for Halloween. Like, doing 2 days of her. So that she can be done by Halloween. What do you think of that idea? Because the other models are, like, spooky, but they're also stuff that you would paint in the normal case of painting for a normal D&D game. Whereas this is obviously very, very much a Halloween witch. So that would enable us to finish our Halloween model actually by Halloween. Or on Halloween. Because she's just so close. Like, I kind of want to figure out a base for her. I'll just have to integrate something. It looks like she's just on normal like earth base. So it'd be super fast to get her on a black base and puttied in and landscaped. Got a mixing brush. But that'd make me happy if I can finish it right around Halloween. Because, yeah, everything else is, like, spooky, but it's also, like, D&D spooky, right? Like, it doesn't have to be Halloween to run into a race car driving necromancer, right? So I'm going to take my lighter orange here then, and I'm going to focus it right around the face, around the eyes and the mouth specifically. And I'll probably make the eyes yellow, but I'm not there yet. Yeah, so we'll just plan on that. And again, I'm going to highlight around the mouth. It's going to bring up the expression and sharpen it up a little bit. Just like putting additional highlights on a regular face will. So see, that makes it stand out more. He's got a happy kitty on his back, so he's a happy pumpkin with a kitty. Now I'm going to make a slightly lighter orange, and we're going to do that again around the face and bring it up even more. And I do want to use this color again to highlight our hair as well. We're just not going to get to it today. We'll have to get to it on the 30th. Hair and leather maybe that day. Pouches. So yeah, I will not be back. I will not be back on my own stream until the 11th. So the 6th for us, after obviously the 30th, 31st, and 1st, but then the 6th. And I won't be able to do another Saturday stream till the 11th. But then we should be good to go all through the holidays, well into almost all the way through the rest of the winter without too much disruption. So now I've mixed this color up here. So there's the burnt orange, or sorry, the orange brown, and there is the highlight color for it. I could just use burnt orange, but I wanted something a little brighter, a little more saturated, to really pick up that pumpkin face. Because as we discussed, the icy violet and the green are actually, they're muted, but they're pretty saturated muted colors. So if I can punch up the pumpkin face just a little bit, it'll be in that realm. There we go. And we'll just highlight around the mouth. Yep. Thanks, Quindy. Man, you just wonder, those people must hate themselves so much. To be taking out so much crap on other people. I feel sad for them. I have so much better things to do than run around other people's streams. Being a jerk. But, you know, I guess if it's your thing. I'm just happy I have a lovely mod. There we go. So putting that highlight, you can see that edge highlight around the mouth and how it really comes out, how the expression really pops out after I do that. I'm going to do a little bit more on the brows. I didn't come in quite so heavy on that. I think I want to. Yes, our mods are wonderful. That's why I'm so happy that Quindy also is like my mod on Saturdays. I've adopted. She's come over and been snared into my evil stream. For which I'm eternally grateful. So the mouth is going to show up a little sharper just because the eyes are going to be a different color here, and we haven't yet put that in. Right, Quindy, right. It was totally out of context. Yep. And I was like, question? Did that somebody like, and I was like, no, it's a troll. Quindy will handle it. Maybe I do want to go green but yellow with the eyes. But I'm going to go really thin down green as the background and see how that looks. If I don't like it, then I'm going to leave it. I think I want yellow more than I want green. So let's get my orangey. The problem is that it has to be an orangey yellow to show up. So we'll see what I can do. That's the thing about these people who do that, right? It's like, you come in and do that, and people just kind of like, oh. It's like, for me, those people, it's more about their hang-ups. It's not about me. It's not about us. Slayer, if you have not, I don't remember if you're my patron, but I did an analysis of the Pro Acryl Pyrrol Red. It's called Red versus Red. It's a PDF that I put out, I think, earlier this month. I won't be doing the whole line because I don't want the whole line. So I'm not going to buy it if I'm not going to use it. But I say that I put them in the class with Reaper because they have a thinner body. But they also have some differences from Reaper. A lot of people like them. Yeah, because as I analyze the red, I also bring out, like, things that, you know... I bring up things that are good and things that are less good. And what I would use that color for. We will end the stream shortly. I just want to get these little spots of yellow in around the eyes. I actually don't have any use for any white other than Reaper Master Series Pure White Sir Gambit. I mean, maybe if I need a really harsh white, I'd reach for a tube white or one of those other, if that's a bold titanium white, if it's good for spot highlights, I could see using it. But I want my white to thin to a translucent level, and I wasn't thrilled with the finish of the Pro Aquarel. I would definitely use this Puro Red to base coat if I need a punchy bright red as a base, for sure. But anyway, as I said, I talk about it all in the PDF. I put these reds through their paces on every technique, except for washes. But I do the I didn't do a wash. I did layering, base coating, layering, and glazing, and I compared them head to head. I want a little bit of liner just to tighten up those eyes, so I'm going to grab a little bit. Is it a high coverage white, or is it, sorry, all whites are high coverage? Is it a really punchy, harsh white? By the name bold, I assume it is. But yeah, I want my whites, like, I use white as a highlighter, to mix highlights, and whites that are too focused on coverage tend to be harder to do that. And if they're prone to separation, I tend to get frustrated with them. The problem really with me is I love Reaper Pure White so much. It is exactly the white I always set out to make, that trying to sell me on any other white is just useless. Unless Reaper changes the formulation, I will never stop using MSP Pure White. Not ever. Oh, super bright. Okay, so you could do the spot highlight. I wonder if it's just titanium white, then they probably didn't add anything else to it. I can say you can get a very punchy white like that if you add a little bit of ultramarine blue, like a tiny trace amount, to a white. It actually will make it look whiter than a normal white. But yeah, I appreciate the reference, Sir Gambit. It's just, I really am, I'm useless about that. Pure white, when I use other paint lines, like when I went to Mark Maskin's class and I brought only the Chimera colors because I wanted to use them, I still brought a bottle of pure white because I just refused to use any other white. So I'm hopeless that way. I'm just hopeless that way. They do it for plastics, actually, is how I learned about this trick. When they're using a white pigment to make white plastics, and they want the white to look really bright, they will add a tiny bit of ultramarine blue pigment, and it'll give you that really poppy, stark white. And I tried it on my own, adding a tiny bit of my ultramarine from Chimera into MSP Pure White. And it actually does really punch it. I was impressed. Yeah, if you have the real ultramarine blue. So don't use Reaper ultramarine blue because we're not using actual ultramarine pigment. You need to use a synthetic ultramarine, and Chimera makes one, is labeled as such, but I'm not sure who else. So an ultramarine blue hue won't have the same effect. Needs to be actual The actual ultramarine. I don't know that it's the same as if you have that one of those really bold titanium whites. Like, I don't know if it's going to compare to that or be better. I haven't done that test. There we go. We have little eyeballs on the pumpkin. I can go just a tiny bit late today because this is our last stream for a long time. Last stream till the 30th. There we go. Alrighty. So yeah, she's so close to done. Really just hair, leather. We have to still do the back there and the white on the sleeves. But otherwise, we are pretty close. We are pretty close. So we'll try to get her done over the 3 days I'm back. Kiki, I hear it. It's cool. You're good. It's just somebody dropping off an Amazon package. Yeah, you know, like they do. You're fine. You're fine. She's like, well, now that you've talked to me, is it time for our WALK? Why, I think it is. I think it's finally time, Kiki. Finally time for the WALK, you huge head. Why do you have such a huge head? What happened to my tiny puppy that was the size of this head? How did this tiny puppy get to be the size of this giant head next to me? Hi, how do you do that? How do you grow that big? You were so small when I brought you home. You were so tiny. Now you're a monster. You are a monster. You're a monster. Yeah, monster. You can get up. Oh, I touched the box. Oh. You're okay. Okay, you can get up. Oh, now we got this in the way. Oh, it's never right. It's never right, Kiki says. All right. Hey, Ultra Squid, just in time to say goodbye. I am gone until the 6th. Actually, sorry. I'm gone until the 30th on my delayed honeymoon. I will be back on the 30th for 3 days. And then I have another small trip, and then I'll be back on the 6th. So the day before Halloween, you can all mark it on your calendars. Come back, and we'll finish. We'll be working on finishing Witchy in those 2 days or 3 days. Yes. I will miss you guys too, but I will be. I'll probably post a couple pictures on my Patreon of awesome Hawaiian things, right, Kiki? Awesome Hawaiian things, yes. Oh, yes. And otherwise, yeah, I have to take the giant puppy on a walk. Oh, is it walk time? I said the word. All right, guys. Yep. It'll be fun, and I'll look forward to coming back. I look forward to getting all my trips out of the way so that I can have a nice long winter break with no crazy travel stress. So, indeedy. Well, big finger hearts to all of you, and I hope you also have a lovely second half of October. And yeah, I will return. Where's my button? Tomorrow's Reaperland at 3 p.m. Central tomorrow. All right, so there you go. All right, have a great one, everybody, and I'll see you when I get back. Bye-bye.